Welcome to Course 4, Foundation, Certified Supply Chain Professional, CSCP, course, by SPAO Academy. Topic 2, Global Supply Chain Networks, Section 7, Connectivity, Visibility, and Legal Considerations. Lesson 3, Intellectual Property Considerations. Intellectual Property Considerations. In an era of globalized supply chains, your product is often the sum of many parts sourced from multiple countries. While this maximizes efficiency, it also exposes one of your company's most valuable assets, its intellectual property, IP. In this lesson, we will explore what IP means in a physical supply chain, the risks involved when working with external partners, and strategies to protect your innovations from the factory floor to the end customer. Learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to define intellectual property in the context of global supply chains. Identify common IP risks associated with outsourcing and logistics. Explain the role of contracts and non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, in protecting IP. Describe strategies for maintaining brand integrity and combating counterfeiting. 1. What is intellectual property in the supply chain? When we think of supply chains, we often think of physical goods. However, flowing alongside those goods is a stream of intangible assets. These include patents, the unique technology or manufacturing process used to create the product; trademarks, the brand name, logo, and packaging design that identifies the product to consumers; trade secrets, formulas, e.g., for food or chemicals, manufacturing know-how, or customer lists that give the company a competitive advantage; copyrights, instruction manuals, software code embedded in products, or marketing materials that accompany the goods. When you send specifications to a supplier in another country to manufacture a component, you are effectively sharing your IP with a third party. 2. Key IP risks in global supply chains. The complexity and lack of direct control in global networks create several vulnerabilities: counterfeiting and overruns. A common risk involves a contract manufacturer producing more units than authorized, overruns, and selling the excess on the gray market. In more severe cases, a supplier may use the tooling and specifications provided to create exact counterfeit versions of the product to sell independently. The reverse engineering threat. Once a product or component is shipped, competitors can purchase it, take it apart, and analyze how it works. While this is legal in some contexts, if no patent is infringed, it becomes a threat if a supplier shares your proprietary designs with another client. Unauthorized subcontracting. You might sign a contract with Supplier A, trusting them with your IP. However, to cut costs, Supplier A might subcontract the work to Factory B without your knowledge. Factory B is not bound by your contract and now has access to your designs. Lack of legal recourse. IP laws vary dramatically from country to country. A patent that is enforceable in the United States or Europe may be difficult or impossible to enforce in other jurisdictions. This makes prevention far more critical than litigation. 3. Legal and contractual protections. To mitigate these risks, legal considerations must be addressed before the first shipment is made. Non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, before sharing sensitive specifications, tooling designs, or formulas, both parties should sign a mutual NDA. This legally binds the supplier to confidentiality and outlines the consequences of leaking trade secrets. Detailed manufacturing contracts. Your supply agreement must include specific IP clauses. Assignment of IP. Clarify who owns new IP created during the partnership, e.g., if the supplier suggests a modification to the design. Non-compete clauses. Prevent the supplier from manufacturing competing products using your designs. Audit rights. Reserve the right to audit the supplier's facilities and books to ensure they are not producing unauthorized overruns. 4. Operational strategies for protection. Beyond paperwork, operational controls are essential. Need to know basis, segregation of information. Don't give a single supplier the entire puzzle. If possible, source different components from different suppliers so that no single entity has the complete blueprint for the final product. For complex assemblies, you might provide pre-assembled kits to the final assembler rather than letting them source all the parts. Security at borders and in transit. IP theft doesn't only happen at the factory. Goods in transit can be tampered with, or documentation can be intercepted. Secure packaging. Use tamper-evident seals. Visibility tools. use GPS and blockchain tracking to ensure the logistics chain hasn't been diverted to unauthorized locations. Brand protection programs. Many companies employ brand protection teams that work with customs officials worldwide. They train customs agents on how to spot fake versions of their products. If a shipment of counterfeit goods is intercepted, the brand can step in to have them destroyed. Case study: the danger of shared tooling. Scenario: a US-based electronics company, Tech Innovate, designed a unique casing for its new tablet. They shipped expensive injection molds to a factory in country X to produce the casings. The breach: 6 months after the product launch, Tech Innovate noticed cheap, in-branded tablets appearing in a neighboring market that looked identical to their own. Upon investigation, they discovered the factory in country X had used the molds, which Tech Innovate paid for, during the night shift to produce casings for a different client. Lesson learned: Tech Innovate failed to include a clause in the contract stating that the molds were the exclusive property of Tech Innovate and could only be used for their production. They also lacked the audit rights to conduct unannounced night visits to the factory. Summary: in global supply chains, intellectual property is both an asset and a liability. While you need partners to build and move your product, each handoff is a point of risk. Protecting your IP requires a dual approach: strong legal contracts, NDAs, patents, clear ownership clauses, combined with operational vigilance, supplier audits, security measures, and supply chain visibility. Key terms: intellectual property, IP, creations of the mind, such as inventions, designs, and brand names, used in commerce. Overage, overrun, production of goods in excess of the quantity authorized by the purchasing company. Gray market, the trade of a commodity through distribution channels that are not authorized by the original manufacturer. Non-disclosure agreement, NDA, a legal contract that outlines confidential material, knowledge, or information that the parties wish to share for certain purposes but wish to restrict access to. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. If you want to learn more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your like means the world to us and helps this channel grow so we can continue bringing you great content. Thanks again, and see you on the next video.